Today, I just want to be raw and totally off the cuff. And today, my communication is directed specifically to Ugandans. Ugandans, I think we are a very broke country and we don't realize it. Okay, we know, but for some reason, we pretend not to understand. We pretend to assume that, no, you see, some people are doing well. Some people have money in this country. But let us contextualize this matter. Let's go to national statistics. According to a report by the Bank of Uganda, 99% of Ugandans earn less than, I'm talking about working Ugandans, earn less than a million shillings per month. And now, the 50% of these 99% of Ugandans actually earn $50 and less. I'm talking about the working Ugandans. There are other Ugandans that are totally unemployed, that are totally not part of the money economy in Uganda. Now, that gives you context of where we are. So when I meet people telling me that, you see, you are talking about poverty, but some people have money. And then I have challenged some of them. I normally ask, okay, can you right now get into your phone book, and I'm challenging you to, and call someone to get you 10 million right now. And then we will see. In fact, 10 million is too much. Let's go to 5 million. Ask them right now off the cuff to see if they can fix you with 5 million. It's at that point that you will realize that we are doomed as a country. But that begs the question, how did we get to this situation? This country has been independent since 1962. And if after nearly 70 years of so-called independence, we are in a situation where 99% of us, 99% of Ugandans are not making even a million shillings. And now, to actually show you how serious this matter is, let's put the 1 million into perspective. How long does it take you to spend this 1 million in Uganda? What I'm saying is that the cost of living in this country is astronomical, and yet people's incomes keep shrinking by the day. And the most disappointing part of all of this, we have a group of people who consider themselves elites. I went to university, I have a degree, I'm working. These are proving to be some of the most foolish group of Ugandans. I was part of an OBs and OGs group for a school I'm not going to mention, and I was forced to quit it because of the sheer level of stupidity, sheer level of ignorance I kept being faced with in this particular group. I raised this particular statistic one idiot, he frankly told me off that, are you part of that? What matters is that, are you part of the 1%? And this is a fool who considers himself part of the people wanting to participate in leading this country. That, are you part of the 1%? If you're part of the 1% making the 1 million and above, why bother? Why? Listen, what these fools don't understand is that you cannot consider yourself a rich person. You cannot be truly rich until you enrich your surroundings. You cannot. If I am earning 1 million and above here, and all my friends don't make this kind of money, I am not rich. I'm a very poor person. Because someone once said that if you are rich and your surroundings are poor, you're never going to have peace. You cannot have peace. And that's why we keep getting robbed. That's why this is what happens. So I do not subscribe to that kind of stupidity. And frankly speaking, it's that kind of mentality that has kept Africans in absolute poverty. In Western, more civilized countries, there is collaboration. These people have a way, they have created systems. These systems were not accidental. They were aimed at ensuring that everyone is pushed. They were aimed at creating equity to facilitate, to maximize the talents of everyone. So if they had pursued this individualism, they couldn't be where we are. Now we have Ugandans, we have Africans running away from here and going to take advantage of those systems. So we cannot build our country with. We have the mindset of idiots who think that, okay, if you're making the 1 million, what matters is that's it. You are fine. No, I am not fine if my surroundings are not fine. And that is why I take off time to try and, some bit of my, my experience with my people here. But there are some lessons we can take. There is another statistic I read, and that more than 60%, and this it was a report by the former minister of this Bahati. He said, I've read it everywhere, that more than 60% of our GDP, of our national gross domestic product, is contributed for by the Indians in Uganda. That is 65%, which essentially means that we have 25% left for we as native Ugandans. And now, as the native Ugandans, I've already explained that 99% are basically very poor people, which means that they are not engaged in any production. And the point here is that it means there is only a very small section, the 1%, that actually control the rest of the 25%. So essentially, if 65% is for Indians, some of whom are just proxies for the corrupt, but then we have now 1% of the native Ugandans controlling the other 24%, and now that paints the picture of what we are as a country. A country like that cannot develop, there is no chance. So that brings me to one very important observation, one very important conclusion, which is that we are living a very fraudulent, we are living a very scam system. We have been told that, get out, get born, get to primary school, graduate in high school, go to university, and finally, try to find a job. But the question is, if all of us have the mentality, and this is what is respectable, by the way, it is very absurd that in 2025, there is this still mindset of parents pushing their children to pursue this line. I have had very serious disagreements with my own parents over this matter. I despise it. But the point is that if all kids are being pushed into employment, who is creating these jobs? The government by itself has no capacity to create jobs to cater for the hundreds of thousands that keep graduating in Uganda every year. I was reading a statistic somewhere that in Uganda, there are only about 20,000 jobs created per year, and yet more than 500,000 graduates, more than 500 students are being churned out from tertiary, from higher institutions of learning. So the question is, where are these people getting, absorbed? That is why, another statistic I read, that Uganda is ranking as one of top countries in terms of labor export. People are leaving this country to go and try and look for jobs from other countries in the West, in Europe, in America. So the point is that until we take charge of this situation, and we can only take charge of this situation by changing our mindset, there are a lot of things we can look at. So, like I explained, it only means that everything we have ever been told, either it doesn't work anymore or it was a scam carefully orchestrated to keep you poor while enriching those that have power. And these people, for as long as they hold power, they'll keep you captive, because they realize that an impoverished society is very easy to continue managing. And they don't care. They will do this for as long as... And I'm not talking about just politicians. I'm talking about a group of dimwits that have positioned themselves in positions of authority, of power, of control. We have politicians. We have higher-ranking academicians. We have higher-ranking managers. Most of you are those of you who are working are part of organizations. What indeed does your senior manager do? What indeed does an MP do? The people that do the real work, the people that do the real, that produce real results, are people on ground. The juniors, these other ones are simply, they have set a certain structure, set of rules. They simply have to make calls. Yeah, is this done? Is that done? So these people are masters of mimicking competence, masters of mimicking intelligence. But in reality, they produce nothing. So if you now that we see that bullshit, we realize that shit. The question is, how do you disentangle yourself from this nonsense? How do you take charge of your situation? I think the world has been kind to us. Technology is changing this narrative. Now you have the privilege The choice is yours to take advantage of this opportunity or continue being part of the savage system, part of a system controlled by the dimwits. The internet has decentralized opportunity. Today, you don't have to go to the United States, you don't have to go to America, you don't have to go to Europe for you to participate in a global economy, in a global production economy. Decentralization is real. It's happening real quick. Information transfer has been decentralized by the internet. In the past, you needed websites, you needed, media stations, central media stations, some of them run by corporations and governments. Today, you just need your phone and you can create your own TV and begin influencing society and become an opinion leader. Money, the decentralization is taking shape. Today, in the past, you needed banks, you needed corporate private intermediaries to facilitate the transfer of money across the world. Today, you just need Bitcoin. All you need is to get your phone. It's now purely peer-to-peer. That is decentralization. Education has also been decentralized. Today, you can choose never to go to school and you'll come out, by the end of the 10 years, you'll end up extremely more intelligent than kids that are still wasting their time in these centralized, controlled structures of so-called education. So what I'm explaining is that you no longer have no excuse. You no longer have no excuse. You cannot keep saying, I was born in Africa, then if I'm poor, I don't have opportunity. No, the internet has brought opportunities near. Now we have one challenge to identify these opportunities, grab them, take advantage, and also to help those that cannot see them, such that we can move together. Like I explained, that if you make 1 million, more than 1 million, you are in Uganda, you are part of the 1%. But if you're surrounded by those that make less than that money, you are not helping the situation. You are not helping yourself. So